welcome everybody to the AV Exchange presented by Midwich. I'm your host, Joe Dunbar. It is Thursday, August 21st. We're cooking out here in the upper Midwest. I know we've got some heat rolling and cold coming in soon. I'm looking forward to that. It's hard to tell. I do want to preface everybody. I got a clipped wing from a little spill I took this weekend, so I've only got one good hand. So I will do my best to be active in the chats and bringing the questions in and everything like that. It may not be as visually exciting as it normally is, but a guy's got to do what he can here. I've got it's going to be a fun show today. I've got my guy Chuck in the house from LiveU. I'm not going to bring Chuck in just yet. What I want to do is a quick look at the agenda, and then we'll do the housekeeping stuff. I got a quick video I want to show you guys, and then we'll bring Chuck in, and we'll dive into kind of anything and everything LiveU. So I did make an agenda today, and I think I might steer Chuck off of this, so don't get mad at me if we don't stick to this like it's the Bible or anything. But we've got Chuck from LiveU. We'll do brand overview and kind of a catalog review. So there's a lot of parts and pieces, so we can kind of touch on some of that stuff. But I think more than anything, what we really want to get into today is like applications and use cases. That's kind of what I pressed on when I was asking people to register earlier this week, and really I think an opportunity or an area for opportunity for a lot of systems integrators. So that'll be maybe a bulk of the conversation. If you've been here before, at the end of the show, we raffle off a $50 Amazon gift card just as a way to show you thanks for giving us your time and energy this afternoon. So stick around to the end and make sure that you get a chance to win that $50 gift card. The only other piece we have before we kick over there is kind of the housekeeping stuff. Please use the Q&A for questions. It just makes life easier for me, so I don't have to chase stuff down in the chat. I always recommend people to use the chat to talk about anything and everything else, though. If it's not directly a question you want to ask to us, let us know where you're calling from. I'm in the North Woods of Minnesota at the moment. If you want to talk about your LiveU experiences in the past, good, bad, indifferent, or anything like that, the chat is a great place for that. I am going to launch a little awareness poll. This just gives us an idea of how familiar you are with LiveU and kind of where you stand in the channel, so we know who we're talking to. I don't want to use language that's over or above you, so go ahead and hit that when you get a chance so we know who we're dealing with. And I mentioned the gift card giveaway, so that'll come at the end. So real quick, guys, I'm going to jump us over to a quick LiveU video, and then we'll bring Chuck in the house.
The LiveU ecosystem is how LiveU breaks down its wide portfolio of products across contribution, production, and distribution. Let's start with contribution. Contribution is live video transmission from a remote location back to your production facilities, ensuring your live content gets to where it needs to be seamlessly. LiveU solves this with our robust encoders, proprietary transport protocol, LRT, decoders, and cloud tools, offering seamless transmission, automation, recording, and metadata management. This delivers cost-effective live video from anywhere. Production is where everything comes together, and LiveU makes it easier than ever to get it right the first time. LiveU's production suite is designed to streamline workflows, reduce hardware needs, and enhance collaboration so you can focus on creating the best live content. We have every tool to keep your team connected and in sync, no matter where they are. And now with LiveU Studio, our 100% cloud-native production solution, you can produce entire shows from your web browser. Simply put, LiveU makes live production faster, easier, and more efficient. And did I mention lightweight? In live broadcasting, distribution is just as crucial as contribution and production. We do this with LiveU Matrix and LiveU Studio. Distribution through the LiveU Matrix is really sharing live feeds to various delivery endpoints, as needed, all over the public internet, securely, in the most cost-effective means on the market today. As for digital distribution, LiveU Studio can be set up to seamlessly deliver your live content to as many as 30 distribution channels, which include social platforms and OTT networks, or even to your physical control room. We hope this introduction to the LiveU ecosystem gave you a clearer picture of how we simplify and enhance live production.
All right, so that's a quick look at the LiveU, kind of the whole ecosystem, and I got my good pal Chuck Davidson here with me. Chuck, how are you doing today?
I am really good, sir. Very good. Thanks for having us today.
Yeah, I appreciate you joining. I guess before we dive into start talking about LiveU and all things LiveU, Chuck, can you kind of just give us little bit about your background, how you kind of ended up at LiveU, what you do at LiveU, and I love to know where you're calling in from as well, so the folks have a little context there.
Yeah, so first off, I'm coming from Orlando, Florida, so home of the heat and the humidity. But
You can keep it.
it's funny. When we were talking earlier, I had to think about go back and think about my career. I've been in this industry for 29 years. So I'm kind of dating myself. I actually started out in the industry working for Avid. So throughout my career, I've been at Avid, Grass Valley, Chiron, distribution myself for a little bit. But we're in a relationship business, and a good friend of mine who came to LiveU wanted me to come and join the channel team. So my role here at LiveU is to support the channel business. Myself and my colleagues split the country in half. Both of us live in Florida. He's senior to me, so he forced me to go north. So I have to be the one wearing the winter coat when I go up to Canada and the north part of the country.
That's all right. Get out of the heat anyway, right?
Out of the heat.
That's all right. Hey, Chuck, I appreciate you giving us some time today. I mentioned in the beginning, there's a whole bunch of stuff we can go over when it comes to LiveU. Looking at the poll results kind of in real time here, it does seem like most folks are somewhat familiar with LiveU. And I'd say about half and half, kind of not familiar and somewhat familiar. So I think it would behoove us to at least, we don't need to spend the whole time, a whole hour kind of talking about the ecosystem and the solutions inside of it. But I think before we can talk about applications and use cases that maybe are non-typical or ones we wouldn't think of, we probably should do some review of kind of get the 50,000 foot view of the ecosystem and some of the product solutions, because I know there's quite a few options out there. Like a lot of folks, Chuck, I got familiar with LiveU from the field packs and being able to broadcast that way, but I know there's a lot more to LiveU than that. So what do you say we kind of just start with an overview, and we can breeze through that pretty quickly, at your pace, and get into some more applications?
Yeah. So do you want me to use some of the slides here we have as a reference point? All right.
I'm gonna pull those up. Go ahead.
Yeah, we'll skip through. I'm going to breeze through some of this just to give those that may not be familiar with LiveU just a little bit of an update. Obviously, global company. We originated about 18 years ago. We're Israeli-based. A lot of people don't know that, actually. So the company world headquarters is in Tel Aviv. And really what got us on the map, when you start to look at this chart, it's not in a pyramid format, but if you actually look at how it's structured, think of this as a pyramid, right? When you look at news and sports, think of the top part of a pyramid. When you look at verticals, we own a large percentage of the market share in bonded IP in this space. And when you start to look at all the growth opportunities, when you think about enterprise, education, public safety, how does a broadcast type technology, which is where Alinity came from, how does that start to translate into opportunities in verticals like I mentioned, enterprise and education and public safety? We'll touch on that a little bit. But what put us on the map, what makes LiveU unique, I think every manufacturer always gets the question, hey, why are you better than this other guy? For us, we tend to focus on one key piece to it, and that's LRT. LRT is at the heart of what makes LiveU the industry standard in a professional broadcast environment. For an example, what this is, it's a bonding protocol. We're able to take multiple IP connections, bond them into a single format or single protocol, and we're able to transmit very high quality, with very low latency. What does that mean? We can do up to 4K over IP cellular as fast as 0.8 seconds from anywhere in the world.
That's pretty impressive.
It's a reason why the broadcasters want a technology like this, because we address the mission critical need that they're demanding as far as being able to do a reliable live event for sports, for broadcasts, for news, whatever.
Yeah.
So LRT is one of the big takeaways. If you want to know something that distinguishes from everybody else, it's LRT. Sorry, go ahead.
Just nerd out for a second. What is LRT?
So LRT stands for LiveU Reliable Transport, and that is as I mentioned, it is a bonding protocol. So what this does is it looks at the IP networks that the system recognizes. So if you think of how we deploy a unit in the US, our systems have 3 carrier SIMs in them. We use AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile in the units. Each individual network is an independent IP network. If you had a hotspot, if you had Wi-Fi from a venue, if you had Ethernet, if you had Starlink, the systems can see those IP networks, and we're basically taking them and we're bonding them into a single protocol. And that protocol is what the field units or the encoders are streaming.
Got it. So this is proprietary to LiveU.
Absolutely. In fact, if you go back to the slide here, if I jumped ahead, you'll see here the nice patented patent bonding technology. Yes, it is patented.
That's right. So you were talking about the differentiators. This is obviously probably the biggest one out there. So I just want to drive it home. This is proprietary transport method for LiveU, being the gold standard in the market that they are. I mean, this is as good as it gets. So I just want everybody to hang on to that as we move through the line and then get into some use case stuff. So thanks, Chuck.
Yeah, and one note, we're going to get into a new technology we launched at NAB this year, and it's around the bonding and the cellular connection. So I can't wait to kind of address that as well.
Yeah, we'll have to talk more about that next time. All right. Okay, so let's kind of get back into our overview here.
Yeah. So if you think about this, kind of gets into a little bit. So you guys, it kind of expands on what you're asking, which is what are we competing against in this bonded IP world? Well, if you kind of look at a lot of networks are a single source network, right? So it's basically it's working or it's not working. There's not a lot of failover. You could lose your connection. You have limited bandwidth. So that's what LiveU competes with when you think about it, right? So we're not a single network connected option. We take it and we bring multiple connection options. So kind of to the point I just made, if you obviously look at the sort of the icons that represent the different types of IP networks, we're able to take all of them and we're streaming, we're bonding those IP networks and we're streaming LRT to a final destination. And one thing to note, because we work in this proprietary protocol, we are the only ones that can decode it. So that's another valid point. Nobody else can decode LRT, Telestream, all these other type of transcoding technologies out there. They can't decode LRT. So you have to have a receiver, and we can talk about the flavors of the receivers that will take the LRT feed and then push it out to more standard protocols that I think the audience is used to seeing: SRT, RTMP, NDI, SDI, all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
But so again, we're taking in the IP sources, we're bonding them, we're using multiple network connections into a single robust connection that is allowing us to transmit the speed and the qualities we talked about. So, what happens if the bandwidth starts to fluctuate, right? It's potentially still an issue depending on the cellular connections that you have. Just like the cell phone, your AT&T may not be performing as well as your T-Mobile, or T-Mobile may not be performing as well as Verizon. We see that with cell phones as just operators ourselves. You can be in a spot like, the guy next to me has a great connection and I got 2 bars.
We all know how that feels.
That's common, right? So even in a world where we're leveraging bonded networking, there's still the potential for some fluctuations. And we've looked at ways to improve that experience with customers. And, we're going to get into it a second here when we talk about a new technology that we launched at NAB 2025. But the idea behind this was, I'm going to push this through. The idea was to come up with a solution that takes analytics of how SIMs globally performed based off GPS location and figure out a way to create an environment where a system can dynamically identify the right network connection to ensure the best quality results. That's what LiQ became. So at NAB this year, we announced LiQ. Think of LiQ as a layer above the data. So if you have T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T in the unit, LiQ sort of sits on top of this layer, and we're providing analytics and a little bit of AI magic to sit there and monitor the performance of the SIMs, of the network connections that is going on the cellular side.
Gotcha.
So the operator doesn't have to do anything. So we take the data analytics from the carriers, we take the historical data we have in our own data depot, 18 years of analytics, 300,000 plus SIMs shipped globally, and we're able to start to identify how we can allow the system to systematically change and adjust network strength usage by carrier or by SIM.
So is this
Sorry.
Is this like some of the AI kind of you're talking about? This algorithmic technology is designed off of all these data points that you guys have collected.
Right.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah. So LiQ is really taking data performance on cellular, especially, to a new level, because now the systems has built-in intelligence to adjust on the fly. In essence, it's going to see what network connections are the strongest, and it's going to start to reallocate the packets to ensure that it's going up to the strongest pipe to maintain the quality connection to transmit video. And the one thing I would note on this is global.
Right.
We're taking global analytics. It's 186 countries worth of data. And so you could have different carrier network SIMs if you're a global customer, and LiQ will still perform and provide that support to ensure you have the best quality connection. So, in short, it's helping to identify what connections are underperforming. It begins to assess where we should drive the packet information and continuously assess those networks by detecting the highest performing option. And again, it's all based off location throughout the world.
Right.
So when you start to look at what we can do for customers who a lot of their workflow or projects are remote, this is really the best the industry has to offer right now to ensure operators with a solution that's going to give them guaranteed performance, again, for mission critical type situations like broadcaster as an example.
Right.
You don't see television stations off air usually. That's a bad thing.
That's a bad look. Yeah.
Bad look. So we're real excited about this. There's a lot more information coming out on LiQ. But this was one of the big announcements we had at NAB 2025. So again, I'm going to kind of blow through these, just to kind of get to some of the next phases. But when you start to net this out, this is really what it means. When you look at LiQ plus LRT, you've got basically the best go live solution for remote production that's currently on the market.
Hands down, man. That just answered kind of a couple of questions I have. I mean, I kind of want to now ask about the product stack and where this fits, but I don't want to cut this short if there's more you want to touch on LiQ and LRT together.
No, we can move on. I think, fire away.
I just want to, okay, no questions. I'll take this opportunity to just remind folks that, hey, any relevant questions you have to LiveU and the line and our topics here, please do go ahead and drop them in the Q&A, and that will get you an extra entry into the raffle for the gift card at the end. So that's a good way to go ahead and give yourself a better chance at winning some of that money. Chuck, I know there's the LiveU catalog consists of a handful of kind of different products. We're looking at the like the field units, talking about like the LU300, I know is like a super popular one. I know there's some applications involved. I know there's some like encoders and servers that can go on the other end. What is without, going through the speeds and feeds of each particular product, what does the stack look like? And what does the catalog look like in terms of kind of the pieces of the puzzle that'll work together?
I love the fact that you use the word stack, because when you look at this slide, I tend to use that as an analogy, right? Because if you see the graphic here on this PowerPoint, you've got stacks of or columns, right? And so when you look at the entire portfolio of LiveU, it's made up of three core pieces. You got your contribution, production, and distribution. Now on the top layer, you'll see central management. Well, central management really is the tool that allows you to manage all of these assets. So it's the command and control piece of this. LRT, again, we've kind of really dove into that at the beginning. Clearly across the ecosystem, that allows the most seamless workflow when people are working in the LRT environment. And I'll touch on that a little bit more. But we also play well with others. We have great integrations with companies like Avid and Marquee and Grass Valley. I mean, there's a whole bunch we could get into, and because we do work with open APIs and things like that. But when you look at just a quick snapshot and you kind of see just summaries here by stack, again, I love that word, is you got portable encoders, you got rack mount encoders, you got physical servers, you got cloud servers, we've got recording options, all in the contribution realm. We've got production tools like Studio. We've got post-production tools that complement the field in the Studio encoders. And then we have a couple ways for distribution. And so when you start to kind of break it down by stack, I'm going to use that more.
Yeah,
you start to see visually what we're talking about. You mentioned the 300S. Clearly, one of the more popular affordable encoders on the market. Single channel, 4 modem configuration. Compare that to an 800, which is the backpack, which I think a lot of people who know LiveU, they refer us as the backpack company. Yeah. Well, the 800 is what is in the backpack.
A nice backpack.
Exactly. And everybody wants to buy the backpack. I get that request all the time. I just want the backpack, which I'll sell you if you want the backpack. But, the 800 is really the top of the line flagship. Broadcast is what most of we see commonly used. It can support up to 4 cameras, 8 modem configuration. So things to think about, right, when you're looking at an encoder is, where am I doing the project? Where am I at? Geographically, do I need a 4 modem configuration or do I need an 8 modem configuration? Modem count matters when you're working field production, when you're trying to connect to cellular. The more modems, the better. All those variables come into play. And then you see we have rack mounted versions. If you're in a studio, we have physical decode servers. We have cloud options. This is all the pieces to the contribution stack. And then as you start to move over, what if you wanted video return? What if you wanted to be able to control a PTZ camera from the studio over the network connection that exists between the encoder and the studio? We could use IP pipe for that. Everybody, I think, probably on the call knows what a tally light is, so we can offer tally light options if you want to know you're live. Data bridge, really popular feature. Makes your encoder in a high-powered hotspot. Pretty nice feature when you're remote. And then obviously audio connect with communications. Studio, we could go on for a 45-minute discussion on Studio, but the reality is, in the interest of time, it's our cloud-based production option. And so when you look at production tools that are out there, we offer a cloud-based version that gives operators the ability to produce an event anywhere in the world. We've had stories of people doing them in a Starbucks coffee shop on a tablet, running Studio, running a production. That's real world, real example. And so you start to kind of see how the production side rounds out.
Yeah, those are the kind of projects we really love. So okay, that gets us into, you got content and then to the production, and then was the last distribution, right?
Final one, we got distribution. Couple ways to get content out. Matrix is our IP video distribution platform. So think one easy example, think broadcast for a moment. Networks or call letter stations want to share content over a very affordable ecosystem. We do this over an IP network, so very, very cost effective, but it's a way for clients to share content. Once you're on the Matrix ecosystem, you can share video with anybody in the ecosystem globally. And then Studio also functions as a digital distribution platform because we're able to multicast 30 simultaneous destinations. So that kind of starts to round out the entire ecosystem. So in just about 5 minutes, we were able to kind of walk you through virtually every type of product we sell. And the thing about LiveU is we excel on the specific area of the workflow. We don't try to do things we're not, we're live. I tell people all the time, we live in the world of live. When you look at the technology that represents that piece of the big puzzle, that's all we sell. People want to archive, great solutions. We don't do it.
I love it. I mean, stick to one thing and do it well, and that's certainly what y'all are doing. I've got a couple questions stacking up, and I will probably bring them in specifically, but I guess generally speaking, this kind of leads us into the next piece. Like I said, we didn't want to spend this whole time talking speeds and feeds on each particular item or something. You can hit the website and check specifications on products if you want to do that. If you have a question, we can certainly answer it, but this kind of leads us into use cases and applications, right? So far, we've been talking about a lot of broadcast news. So this is a great question and is kind of answering some of our questions. But so how does this kind of move into other markets that aren't traditional broadcast, and maybe even more kind of traditional enterprise AV spaces?
Yeah, this is without question the biggest thing we get challenged with, especially when we're working with the resale community, because a lot of people they view LiveU as a broadcast sports type centric company, and that's where our heritage came from. Clearly, we made a mark for ourselves in the industry because of those two key markets. But from a channel perspective, the growth markets are everything else. And you think again back to that first slide I showed, or one of the first slides, if you took that and made it into a pyramid, all the corporate enterprise, the education, the public safety, the infrastructure, telecom, all of those types of companies within these verticals are where growth is, right? There's only so many television stations and there's only so many sports teams, right? And so when we have dedicated teams that do a lot of that work, the channel is really everything else. And that is such an opportunity for the partners because there's no wrong way to work this. And there's one particular, I could go through a lot of different examples, and I want to target on, I'm going to find it here if I have it. I think I do. I'm going to target I want to use TD Ameritrade because I think this one represents the best way to show LiveU and how people use it. Because what you're seeing here in this case study is you're seeing two completely different ends of the spectrum of how people use LiveU. They use it to connect to a broadcaster to do financial analytics or information to a Bloomberg or some of the news agencies that talk about corporate media.
Gotcha.
Corporate information, where the stocks are, all those kinds of things. So this is kind of what most people are used to LiveU is. Hey, we're connecting to a station, we're pairing to a receiver at NBC or Bloomberg, and we're out to air. Pretty common use case for us. Sure. But then you look at the second part in the external communication. They're actually using LiveU to connect to their customer base on a content delivery network. So they're using LiveU to be able to use it as a platform for education, to be able to communicate things, products, advice, anything to do with the trading world and what customers should be doing with their money, basically. But they're using a CDN to do it. And so on one side, we're doing the social media, and another side, we're going live out to air. And that kind of, when you start to think about that, you're seeing all sorts of unique use cases, from training environments, town hall meetings, sales conferences, connecting people in a live video experience that's broadcast quality. So you think about using Zoom or Teams to do a large event for a corporation, and most of us have experienced it and the quality's crap. What if we change that into a broadcast experience? What if we made this like you would see on television? And that's what we're able to bring to customers, is we can change the production quality of anything they're doing video-wise.
I love that. So in that world, I got a couple questions I'm going to bring in, but I guess following this thread right here, like in that world, what are the things that a systems integrator needs to know if they're kind of trying to change their mindset a little bit and saying, yeah, we've had this large format Teams or Zoom experience. It's not our favorite. We're looking at other solutions from like a design perspective, from a qualifying sales kind of perspective, like what questions should they be asking themselves? What questions should they be asking their partners to kind of like, help identify and uncover these types of projects and opportunities?
That's the $1 million question, right? Because we educate the partners on how to engage. The very first simple answer is your customers are asking for this technology. What we have to do in partnership with you is bridge the gap of them knowing you're a source for it. Right.
Yeah.
You're a viable option for them to be a supplier or a consultative resource to be able to talk of what's possible, right? So it's really simple in the sense that does a client see leveraging live video streams or feeds in a unique way to connect people within the organization or external to the organization? It's as simple as that. And that typically will start them thinking of, oh yeah, we're trying to improve how we control quality on the production floor at Toyota. Or, hey, we want to be able to start communicating to our customers on a weekly show like this, but from a manufacturer to educate our customers on our solution or product announcements or updates. So it really just depends. It could be training, it could be informative education, it could be conferences. I tend to lead on the fact of, have you looked at leveraging live video streams to connect? And it's as simple as that. The connect can be anything: internal, external, broadcast, ends. And that tends to get the use case. Another good example, I'll slightly digress. Look at public safety.
Sure.
People are like, why would public safety use this? Think drones, think robots. We are getting inundated with law enforcement across the country. There is no bigger opportunity in your local markets than public safety. Every single police department in the nation has a drone program. It doesn't matter if you're a 10-person station to the NYPD. They all have drone programs. Every single one of them are looking to evolve into new technology to do live streaming for threat assessment, aerial surveillance. And it's the easiest prospecting call you will ever make, because you can call any police department in the country and say, let me talk to the person that heads up your drone program. If there's one person.
I was going to say, it's not going to be a big department, is it?
It's a very identifiable reach. And what's great about our partners, the partners that are on this call, is you're taking a core competency of what you know from the industry in our world of media and entertainment, and you're able to apply that to how a first responder can use this technology. We have an ambulance service in Seattle that put LiveU in the back of ambulances, and they're streaming triage of what the paramedics are doing back to the ER en route.
I feel like I remember you telling me about this a little bit. And there was, I don't know if you told me about it or maybe it was on the website I saw it, but like at a concert, they were using it to do aerial surveillance was it in France or something like that?
Yeah, another good example is they did aerial surveillance at the Super Bowl. So Customs and Border Patrol is responsible for every major live event in the nation. So they're responsible for air surveillance. They fly helicopters and drones, and they're sending live video feeds back to a command and control, so they can see virtually every area around the stadium. And so I think the cool thing about this is why I get kind of jazzed up, because I'm like, the limitation is just not thinking out of the box and being able to look at big picture. How can people use live video? And so the biggest reason people are coming to us is they want the best possible production value on the market. And so first responders are coming to us saying, you guys are the industry standard for broadcast. We need that broadcast experience for real world situations. And That's a market 2 years ago we would have never thought was a market for LiveU. Like we've never even targeted that to some degree in the US, especially a little bit overseas, but not in the US.
Well,
We're seeing all these examples.
Yeah, that kind of leads. So Michael, I hope it's Brandemeier, Michael, I hope I got that right. Michael had a good question here, and really at a core level, just wanted to know, like, how does LiveU tie? Michael asked, how does LiveU tie into typical commercial AV and UC systems that we see on a more regular basis? So, people doing Zoom rooms and Teams rooms in large facilities and on campuses and stuff like that. It's not necessarily about saying.
It's a replacement.
Yeah, it's not that, right? It's about seeing it kind of a different way and understanding where the solution can tie in. So when you're talking about the public safety and emergency safety kind of situation, like, okay, that's obviously part of that project as well most of the time. And that's like another tie-in to get into maybe a kind of different segment of the same project, if that makes sense, right?
It is. And, another good example, and I'm sure a lot of folks on this call maybe focus on this market. Another growing one for LiveU is House of Worship.
Interesting. You're going to have to tell me about this. How so?
So the Zoom Teams experience is what's driving people to search for better alternatives, because churches have a lot of money to spend. That's the reality. And they want, just like a broadcaster, at the end of the day, they're trying to grow membership. They're trying to grow audience. And the way they do it is outreach, and they do social media, and they're raising the production value of their Sunday service experience. What they're coming to us for is, and I had one today. I had a discovery call today. The church wants to connect 4 locations. They want to be able to sync live video in broadcast quality, bi-directional communication, to bring all 4 brick and mortar locations into one Sunday service. So each sanctuary has big screens to see the other, and the pastors from each location can have this one group experience, but it's all broadcast quality.
That's so cool.
I can tell you that one of the best closing lines I get, or I should say, when I talk to the pastor, is they describe what they want. And anybody that's sold in the House of Worship can relate to this. I asked the pastor, I'm like, do you guys have active missionaries going on in the world? Which, if you're a part of a church, it's interesting for the members to see what the church is doing globally. They want to know, hey, what work are we doing at these missionaries? I said, how cool would it be for you to send an LU300 to anywhere in the world and bring that missionary into your Sunday service as a 5th location?
That's
and
so
it's
cool.
Like the pastors are like, never thought I could do that. And I'm like, we support 186 countries. So the likelihood of us being able to work even in Africa, South America, is strong. And there's other solutions if we couldn't as well, as far as
that's
but it's cool.
A great example, though. That's like when you say House of Worship and LiveU, I really would not have kind of thought of that application where they're trying to connect one another and utilizing the tools. So like, what without diving super into the weeds on it, like what in this House of Worship application where they have their 4 locations, like what hardware are they using or software? Like what are your solutions are they using to complete that?
Yeah, great question. So most of the customers, and not all of them, some have their own existing production solutions as far as like their switcher or whatever. But it's basically a rack-mounted encoder, a rack-mounted decoder at each location, a field unit for mobility, whether that's at the mission, the mission that's going on overseas, could be, a field unit or a roving unit. It's studio. I mean, that's the bulk of it. Now, you get into an environment like this, and we know this from history and experience, you have to address some audio things, which is where the resellers bring the most value, because we're bringing in the video transport piece. Right. But to really round out the solution, we do address some mix minus issues and things like that they have to, that the sanctuary itself would have to resolve. But that's where the value out of the partners are coming in, because they can provide the solutions that add to the overall workflow. But it's really encode decode studio in a nutshell. That's what it is. IFB for communication, Some of the church used the IP pipe for PTZ control. So each church is slightly different, but at the heart, it's really encode, decode each location, and we connect all of them into one group.
That's pretty, it's, it's almost trying to think of the right verbiage here. As like a design person, I'm always like kind of annoyed when something is as simple, like, or just a few pieces. It doesn't have to be a very complex thing. It's more about the right pieces. It's like, oh, I wish I would have thought of something being that simple and straightforward. I've been bringing questions as we've been going. Sorry, folks, that they're not up on the screen like I normally would. But again, I'm on one wing here. So Tim had asked a question about interoperability with other network-based video transport. Are there any situations where you guys are working with other transport methods, other manufacturers and protocols, things like that? Or does LiveU kind of live in their own space with that regard? You mentioned RTSP and some other streaming protocols, so obviously you're not locked into like just working with LiveU solutions.
So when you kind of think of like the first mile mentality, when you're going from a field encoder to the receiver, we're in our proprietary world, right? That's LRT. When you get to the receiver, that's when we begin to come out. We can come out at NDI, we can come out SDI, we can do RTMP, SRT, so all the standard protocols. But that's really focusing on getting it to the production environment. So we're using the video transport technology LRT to get it to the studio receiver, and from there, yeah, we can support anything.
And it's
you go into studio, like if a customer decided to go with studio native into LRT, we support. I mean, the list is long.
I suppose
RTC, RTMP, SRT. I mean, the list is long, but just understand the reason we break that down is the strength of LiveU is from encode to decode. Because it's the LRT protocol that's the quality that they want. Going back to the church example, they want broadcast quality. They don't want Zoom or Teams. They want the best quality experience. And so we're able to do that leveraging the point-to-point solution. But we understand you're taking this live video feed and you're producing content. You're going to a router. You're going to a switcher. And we standardize the protocols on the back end out.
Cool. Well, that definitely kind of answers that pretty clearly. I got there's one more question here from Michael. We're kind of getting to the point where we're winding down. So, folks, if you have questions, please go ahead and drop them in the Q&A for us. But Michael, this feels like an obligatory question, and I love you for that. Michael wants to know if there's any AI integrated into true AI into any of the production stuff. Are camera operators and production staff still required, or some of that been replaced with algorithms and anything like that? Or what does that relationship look like in the solutions to the algorithm AI world?
Where we are today, and I think where we will be in the future, I think that question will be answered and evolved over time. Yeah. You're seeing LiveU. When I talked about LIQ, it's really those types of solutions. Currently, we're focusing on leveraging AI for, because it has a direct, immediate impact on where technology is today.
Sure.
But the AI is a big part of how we see the roadmap of where our products are evolving. Things I didn't touch on, but I'll just kind of put the teaser out there. It's kind of almost logical. You're going to see LiveU transition into eSIM technology. And that's really going to be another game changer to where I think you're going to see even more enhancements on how we leverage AI. So as we get away from sort of legacy type technology into the next generation, you're going to see more development across the portfolio in AI. So are we where he describes currently? Not yet. You're seeing AI implemented in certain aspects of the current portfolio, and it's a lot of it's around the data usage currently.
Makes sense.
When you look at studio, when you look at some of the production solutions that we are providing, yeah, there's a lot of research and development going on and how we can leverage AI to improve those workflows.
I appreciate that response. I feel like that is very pointed and intentional, and it's not, we feel this a lot in our world, especially getting more into even the consumer electronics versus commercial and enterprise stuff. But so many people just slamming AI features into stuff and hitting buzzwords and like, maybe even kind of introducing features that people didn't ask for, don't care about, don't need, don't want. And you guys are really leveraging it more to help make better second by second decisions, or I'm sure even, more sharp than that, to maintain stronger connections and ensure that the quality is still top notch, which is what LiveU is really known for and how they became the gold standard. So that response is perfect. It makes good sense. It looks like we're wrapped up on questions. We're coming up on the end here. Chuck, before I move into a raffle and talking about giving away a gift card and we wrap this thing up, you got yourself in front of a handful of systems integrators here. We have a lot of design and pre-sales types of folks and things like that. And I don't want to bulk everybody in, but I do believe that the core of our group is maybe more traditionally in the UC kind of space, and they're doing Teams rooms and Zoom rooms and things like that. Is there anything you would want to offer to these folks? Here's a question you should ask, or here's maybe what I would look at, or anything you'd want to say to these folks while you got them.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. First off, I thank you. Yeah, no worries. I really appreciate the opportunity to get in front of dealers. This is one of the number one goals we try to do now, is to educate partners while bringing a solution that may give you opportunity for growth within your own team, your own regions, your own portfolio of products. And the cool thing is as I said earlier, your customers are looking for this technology. We know that because we're getting the calls. We're getting the requests for discovery calls. For us, the challenge is having the dealer see opportunity. Is it worth your while? So a couple highlights. Good margin product. Let's cut to the chase. I think probably a lot of people on this call are sales, right? It's a good margin product. Principals like it and the reps like it. That's a recipe for some success right there. Because if you can make some money selling it, that's always a good thing.
Absolutely.
And so we're not shy about that. I can tell you this. This company has a history of being a direct company. When you look at its heritage, over the last 7 to 10 years, you started to see this shift. Today, they truly see our resellers as an extension of the sales and marketing effort. And I say that because I really think it's critical for partners to know that we are invested in them. And we want the partnership. Our growth is dependent on you. All the way up to the CEO, they realize our channel is going to be what brings this company to the next level. You are the masses. And so I would say, the best advice I can give the reseller reps is, don't look at us as a broadcast and sports company. When you start to widen your optics of what we could do to solve customer problems, the creativity and how people think of using live stream technology will even start to surprise you. And I think the biggest challenge is people don't associate certain dealers with the ability to even sell this technology. You're boardroom focused and very AV focused, which I understand that's a big core part of the business. But the customers are looking for these types of solutions, and you bring a skill set and a knowledge of the industry that's relevant to discuss live video. And our position is we'd rather go to traditional pro AV dealers in the bridging the knowledge gap is so short because most reps understand what we do, than to try to go to a different market with different resellers and try to teach them what video is, the whole idea of video distribution and live streaming. And so we're really invested in driving this message to your customers, because they are 100% relevant on the customer engagements, because like I said, these customers are asking for it. And it doesn't matter the vertical. There is not a vertical out there that is not engaging LiveU. Every single one.
I've learned that. And Chuck, to your, I just will drive it home a little bit of our partners here. The hardest thing we have in AV period, and I'll die on this hill, I don't think I'll need to, but is helping, when a customer, an end user comes to anybody in AV and says, I want to do X, say ABC or whatever, we start thinking about how we can do that in a reliable way. And in order to do it in a reliable way, we usually tend to lean on things we know. And there's a lot of reasons to do that, and I fully support that. But if you live inside that box, I mean, this house of worship project that you mentioned is a great example. I think if somebody came to me with that project and said, hey, this is what we want to do, I don't know that LiveU would have been my first thought. And I always work on trying to break myself out of that habit, is to not get stuck in the box and saying, how would I do this? But try to think about, like, how could I effectively do this? So we're here to help our partners learn, LiveU and the team here at Midwich. So certainly when it comes to training, resources, of course, pricing and availability and things like that, I encourage everybody to just get in touch with your Midwich reps. Most of the folks here have my info, so you can drop me a line. I'll be happy to get you in touch with Chuck or whoever we need to get you guys trained up and get the information you need. But it's more about kind of being creative and a little more open-minded, it sounds like, than anything.
And one thing I would remind everybody is we love doing discovery calls with our partners. If you even can sniff out a potential opportunity that has to do with live video, bring us into the call. Like, set us up. I have Chili Piper links on my signature. You can book right off from my signature anytime that's open on my calendar. Like, that's the best way for us to help you. Like, we want to be a resource, especially for those that are thinking they're not maybe as familiar with LiveU, that really needs to be, partner with us to get through the initial conversations. We average 10 a week. I mean, that's how much we get inbound. So we're constantly doing customer calls with our partners, and leverage us. I am 100% channel, but just to be clear, my personal success is based off what you guys do for us. So I'm really invested in that. I love the discovery calls, and the more you hear us talk as we vet out what's going on with your customer, you're going to learn it. It's just natural. You're going to get more comfortable with what we're doing and how we pitch it. And so we're here to help.
I appreciate it, man. I know. So Chuck Davidson here from LiveU. We've got Jeff Barnes and Rich D'Angelo and Kyler. We've got, we have our media and entertainment team here at Midwich as well. So we've got resources ready to help you guys out. Chuck, I just want to say thanks for joining us, giving us your time.
Absolutely.
I know we can really talk for a couple hours on this topic. So we got a gift card to give away. Let me go hit the magic raffle button here and give a big shout out to Michael Brandemeyer. That's what happens when you ask questions. Shout out, Michael. We will go ahead and get in touch with you after the fact. Yeah, that works, right? That works. Awesome. Michael, we'll get in touch with you via email to go ahead and get that gift card off to you. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining us here on the AV Exchange. Chuck Davidson for joining us, and we will see you next time, folks.